From sportschatplace.com and pickdogs.com. It's Sunday, May the 3rd, 2020, here with our free live show. Of course, we're live 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're still working on a lot of things here. And why are we going live when there's no sports? We always have something to talk about. And we're trying to work on the show is really what we're doing now over the course of, what you saw the last few days of April and now all the way through the end of May. And we're hoping that sports resumes in June. But basically what these shows are, and while we're trying to give out as much positive information as we can and, talk about sports and just really stay in touch with everyone and let you guys know, hey, if you want to talk, we're here. But really a lot of the stuff we're doing is a lot of the tech work. So, I'm working on the production quality from my set, and you'll see it start to seep over into what the other guys are doing as well. So of course, tomorrow is Mondays with Mitch, where it's just I'm flying solo here. So a lot of the stuff I'll be talking about, a lot of these things tomorrow, and I'll probably give a little bit of a behind-the-scenes tour as to what I'm doing here so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining me. We're going to talk the SEC today, and as you can tell, I have a little player going on there. No, it's not that one. So, oh, shit. Anyways, we're going to fix that. Anyways, it's going to fall. Anyways, we got Steve Monahan with us. We have Chris Ruffalo and Rod Zawacki. Steve and I are going to talk some NFL news, and then with Rod and Chris, we're going to get their picks on who's going to win the SEC this year. Maybe Steve will even tell us his. But anyways, without further ado, let's bring in Steve Monahan, and let's see what we got. Trying to do this a different way. Didn't work, so we'll just do it the old way. Steve, welcome. Good morning. How you doing today? Hanging in there. It's still dark here in Hawaii, but I've played 2 rounds of golf so far. I shot 77 on Friday and 78 yesterday. The front 9 killed me on the front 9 I played well outside of the first 2 or 3 holes on Friday. I absolutely tore it up. I had a few birdies. And then yesterday it was the opposite. The front 9 got the best of me, and then the back 9 I was 2 over. So ended up, with 78. I'll take it, 77, 78. I'm going in the wrong direction, but I think I'm hitting the ball better. But I'm just happy to be out on the golf course. I know a lot of people out there not as fortunate. I had Steve muted, but now he should be working just fine. I don't know. I constantly keep messing that up, but eventually I'm gonna get it right. But we have some NFL news. It looks like some contracts not being renewed. John Ross, Mitch Trubisky, Leonard Fournette. You want to go through these one by one? Because the common theme here is underachievers and guys I hated in the draft. Okay, so that's the common themes here. Let's go one by one. John Ross. Here's a guy that has played. I watch a ton of football, and I can tell you, I've seen him maybe catch 2 passes of his, however many he's caught. What do you think?
He came highly touted out of Washington, right? A burner.
Not really. So, he's a combine guy. This is a combine guy.
That's what I mean. A combine guy. If he runs a fast 40, that type of thing. Then he moves up, and the Bengals drafted him, but they're declining the 5th-year option, to your point. He hasn't been productive. And I don't think that's a surprise. I don't think his career will be over and somebody will pick him up. But, he's under contract for, another year or so. But yeah, disappointing. I think that it was a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, and to me, it's like here's the combine guy. That's what this is. He's had injury problems. There've been a lot of it, but he was just never really a football player to begin with. I think he's a guy that goes to another team. He does contribute somewhere else. He has that speed. Someone's going to pick him up, right? Someone's going to pick him up. He's going to, they'll use him right. Hopefully, he gets in the right situation. And I think there are a few situations out there.
John Austin type of guy that'll get picked up by somebody that's got, can play in the slot or
you run a 4.2, 4.3 40. there's usually a place for you in the NFL on some roster. How much money he's going to make on that roster, I'm not really sure. But
he's going to take a big pay cut, that's for sure.
then he's on the rookie contract, so they're not out of things. And if Amari Cooper is making $20 million a year, who even knows, right? At this point, there's someone.
Well, $20 million a year.
Yeah, someone out there. What's that? Yeah, someone out there might be paying them. Someone out there might pay him. But anyways, we have another guy. So Leonard Fournette. Here's a guy who has shown that when he's healthy, he certainly makes his quarterbacks better. He got Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship game. Okay, it was also a savage defense that he had. We're going to give him that. But it's my philosophy of running the football and playing defense. And I think Leonard Fournette is another guy that if he winds up on the Patriots, we're all going to be mad, right? We're all going to be really, really mad. But I mean, these are the type of teams where you could see Leonard Fournette, the Patriots, the Steelers. I could even see him on the Dolphins. I mean, they have room for running back, and there's a lot of places for Leonard Fournette, but he wants a ton of money.
Exactly, and I don't know who's going to pay him that kind of money, especially New England. I mean, if he's going to go to New England, they're not going to be paying him the kind of money that he thinks he's going to get. But that's a logical landing spot, obviously, New England with the Corey Dillons and
How about the New Orleans Saints, who
and all these guys they've had in the past that have been productive.
How about the Saints, who kind of had a little drop off with the loss of Mark Ingram? They didn't really have that bruising runner.
Yep.
It's you could have these other guys, the Latavius Murrays of the world, but they're not Leonard Fournette. And also, he lands back in Louisiana there.
Exactly. It's logical. Played at LSU. I can see that. And again,
there's a million spots for a guy like that. I think he's had some injury problems, but when he has played, and last year he was healthy, he is productive. Yep. The last guy, that we're going to talk about today is Andy Dalton, who is signed with the Dallas Cowboys, a 1-year contract. So just a lot of confidence by the Cowboys shown there in Dalton. And it could be Dalton that just wants the 1-year contract too. But, the Cowboys have had a lot of problems over the years with injured quarterbacks. Dak really hasn't been a guy who's been an injury guy, but, they did sit through the Tony Romo era where, he was injured most of the time or a good portion of the time. What do you think of this Andy Dalton signing? For me, here's a team that never wins playoff games, and here's a quarterback that never wins playoff games. This sounds like a match made in heaven. What do you think, Steve?
Yes. No, I mean, Andy Dalton played at TCU.
No, but let's look at it. Let's address the elephant in the room here. His playoff record and the Cowboys' playoff record, and just the mesh.
I cannot dispute that. That's a factual statement you actually made.
What exactly is this team doing? What are they doing? What are you doing?
He's an upgrade over Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush has been the backup for 3 years.
But
Andy
what about
Dalton,
so in a salary cap league, right? A luxury item like Andy Dalton and a backup quarterback. Some people think they're more than a luxury item, but they are a luxury item. I don't care what you say. How much is he making? Because you're in a salary cap league, and now you're taking away depth because you got a wide receiver that plays 1 game a year that makes $20 million. You got a running back that celebrates first downs, but as the season progresses and the bigger the game, he makes fewer and fewer of those. Okay, and fewer meaningful touchdowns, less and less impact. What he's not is a workhorse. And it's like. He wants to be a workhorse. Feed me, feed me, feed me. We would if we were winning games doing that. But we're not. We can't even get to the lead to run out the clock and manage the clock because it's not getting it done. Because every time it comes to a third down pass, we got a wide receiver that doesn't, just decides he's not going to play even though he's making $20 million. Which is, those of you keeping score at home, which is $1.4 million a game. Okay, so which is, divide that by 60 minutes, how many offensive plays this guy's in. So $1.4 million a game, I mean, how many offensive plays are against 60, maybe? So it's 1.4 million divided by 60. So you figure out what Amari Cooper is making per play. And you tell me if you're getting that out of this. I mean, I have problems with the Dallas Cowboys. To me, I kind of put my eggs in their basket in that last, I actually bought into it that last 4 or 5 games of the season that they were going to be the team that emerged out of that division. And then, by 2 games into it, I had already cashed it in and said that it was going to be Philly. It was like, this is how much faith I had in this team. And, signing Andy Dalton, whatever, it's like, you got a lot bigger holes to fill over here. If you want to be a playoff team, you have a major problem when the anchor of your defense plays 4 games also. It's like Sean Lee. Big problem. You need a backup of him is what you need. C.D. Lamb can do it, right? It's like so you draft.
The Cowboys have addressed the defense up front. They tried Gerald McCoy, Poe. DeMarcus Lawrence has been productive. Leighton Vander Esch has been a good pickup. Jalen Smith, actually, I think is turning into one of the best linebackers in the league. Sean Lee, to your point, of course, plays 4 games a year, but he's at the tail end of his career now. Again, Andy Dalton will fit right in. I do think he's an upgrade over Cooper Rush. I mean, is he the answer to get him a playoff win? No. But all your points about Elliott are spot on. There's a lot of holes. But the good news is Mike McCarthy's now in charge on the field. So
the Cowboys,
I think the culture,
the beginning of last season, the beginning of last season, the Cowboys started 3-0. Okay, they were 3-0 to start the season. That means they were 5-8 the rest of the way. Okay.
Yeah, and then I went to Philly at the end, and of course, lose.
But if
don't make the playoff.
If you beat the Jets, right, the JETS Jets, okay, if you beat the Jets, and you beat,
I was like what, early October or something,
and you beat the Bears,
you're in.
You're in. But what we see here is a loss at Philly, loss at Chicago, loss at New England, their 1 road win, or 2 road wins, the Giants and the Redskins. I don't know, Steve.
That's why Garrett's gone, and there's a new sheriff in town named Mike McCarthy, who is a good coach. So I feel good about that. Then the last thing is Mitch Trubisky, the Bears, your boy Mitch Trubisky, they declined his option.
Mitch Trubisky was the other guy. We'll get to him in a second. But I'll tell you one thing. I love the hype surrounding the Dallas Cowboys because me and Rod are going to be betting against them like no one's business. And Chris, I'll tell you what, Chris is going to quietly, get in his digs too because this team is on auto fade for me. Even when they win, they're going to lose, right, as far as we're concerned. But let's get to Trubisky was the other guy. The Bears traded up for this guy. Everyone was like, he had 1 year of college experience. And he was mediocre at best. He was a scrambler in my book. He was, I don't like quarterbacks that tuck it under too much. I think Russell Wilson, when he's the last resort and he gets to the outside and, he makes that play, that's one thing. But the guy who tucks it in too early I never played quarterback. And Steve, you played quarterback in, high school and, before and all that other stuff and, college level. It's like, what coach tells you to not wait until the very last second to tuck it? And it's like, it's basically a throw it away thing, right? It's like, if you can't throw it away or something, right? It's like, or if you see a room or something happens, but it's like, these are the last of the last resorts. But Trubisky, that's when he's most effective, is when he runs. Can you build it?
No, you can't. They just stated that they're declining the option on this guy.
Well, this is why. Right, and this is why Dalton is under a 1-year contract, so they can get this guy next year. That's really what this is about.
So maybe Cam Newton winds up in Chicago.
Nick Foles is there. We'll have to see how that works.
No, that's true. Nick Foles, you're right.
We'll have to see how that works out. But anyways, we're going to bring in we're going to bring in Chris. We'll see Steve in just a little bit. We're going to bring in Chris Ruffalo, the puck dog, and we're going to talk some SEC football. But thanks, Steve, for joining us. Bring in Chris Ruffalo. Chris, good morning. How are things out there in Mississauga?
They're doing well. We're starting to get the warmer weather. You wouldn't know it was early May outside. You'd think it was the middle of July out here, but I'm starting to get used to this.
Yeah, I tell you, it all of a sudden the last few days here it got really hot, really hot. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but playing some golf. But not a lot going on in sports. Steve and I just went through this, and we don't need to rehash what my opinion of the Dallas Cowboys, because I'm going to continue to kick these guys around until they give me reason not to. Because one thing that we don't do, right, in sports betting world is, if you want to win, is you don't give credit to teams before they've actually earned it. And how many times have we done this? And it's like, we're going to get to the SEC in a second. There's a segue here at some point. But how many times do we Bryce Harper Phillies and, into, all of a sudden the Phillies are going to be great? No. They stink. And this guy bats .216, okay? It's like, what am I missing here? Are we missing something with this Andy Dalton and his 0 playoff wins? I mean, the Cowboys 0 playoff wins, the Andy Dalton 0 playoff wins. Mike McCarthy does have 1 Super Bowl. He had a great defense that year, the best defense he ever had in Green Bay, best receiving core he ever had in Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers was a beast that year. And it took one big play and one bad play by Mendenhall in the Super Bowl really to get that win. Do you think he gets? You think he gets Amari Cooper to play? We didn't figure out how much Amari's making per play, but it's a lot, right? It's a lot of money. We'll figure it out. But what do you think about this Andy Dalton crap?
It's like you were mentioning. I think you have to. You have to earn the respect before it's given to you. And like you said, Andy Dalton, no playoff wins. It's not going to be an antidote for whatever's ailing the Cowboys in that department. But, it's like I say, you got to kind of wait. It's got to take a wait and see approach. But for right now, if you ask me today, do I think he's going to be the answer? I don't think he's going to be the answer. I think he's going to be the answer as to why Dallas loses 2 more games than they did last year. But if he sees the field, but.
So Amari Cooper makes $23,500 per play on average if he plays 60 offensive plays a game. He makes $23,500 a play. Are they getting that kind of value out of Amari Cooper? I just don't see it. We'll ask Steve again when he comes back on. Now we have that number. But let's get to some guys that really do play football and try on every single play. We're going to get to the SEC. And we got 2 divisions in the SEC, in the SEC East and the SEC West. And, it's been kind of the West has kind of dominated and gotten most of the ink in recent years. The East had a run with Florida and Tennessee, and they've had some good runs. So we'll take a look at this. Georgia, of course, has been a little bit of a beast here in the SEC. Kirby Smart, who I had negative things to say about, right, on the hiring, and I still don't like his side demeanor. And I don't love his coaching. I think he's got enough talent to win more, to win some of these games. I think he had the talent to win at LSU last year. I think that, he has so much talent, and it's like this is that good problem to have, where he doesn't have enough places on the field to play all his guys, and he's not getting that continuity that he needs. He's also got a new quarterback this year with Jake Fromm leaving, but the Bulldogs are still minus 110 to win the SEC East this year. Florida Gators plus 125. Felipe Franks isn't in the fold anymore. He's transferred, and it's Trask's team. Tennessee, we saw some really nice improvement late in the year, plus 1,200. South Carolina, Muschamp, knocked off Georgia between the hedges last year at plus 2,000 here. But, they won that game between the hedges, and then they just folded. I don't know what happened there with South Carolina. They lost at Tennessee, And I think that was enough to maybe they were as sick as we were over that one. Kentucky, I don't know. I think Stoops has done a real nice job there, but it's like it's always going to be a basketball school, so you're up against that. Missouri, who Charles Harris was another guy not renewed by the Dolphins. Like, the purging, right? They traded him. It's like let's trade first round draft picks for 7th round picks, and Vandy at plus 10,000. Is it Georgia's division to win, or you think Florida here at plus 125, or I think the Vols, Jeremy Pruitt did a real nice job.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned, Georgia's going to have a bunch of retooling to do, and while I'm sure they'll get there and they'll have their fair share of chances this year, I need to see Georgia bring in another quarterback, or I need to see something out of Stetson Bennett before I kind of invest any faith in him in the Georgia offense. I mean, he's a Georgia kid, so there's a little bit of added pressure there playing for your school in your home state. That's one of the best in the conference. But again, I kind of need to see something. But I do like Florida here at plus 125 to win the East. I mean, they've got Kyle Trask coming back, Damian Pierce in the backfield, Kadarius Toney, Trevon Grimes, Jacob Copeland as the receiving core. They do have to replace guys like your guy Jabari Zuniga. They have to replace Jonathan Grenard. They have to replace C.J. Henderson on that defense. But it's still a very good defense.
They grow defenders on trees in Gainesville. They do. Yeah. I mean, I'm an anti-Gator. Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Florida. That's my evil trifecta there, right? And it's like, but you have to give credit where credit is due. These guys recruit like no one's business. And if you're a college student, it's not a bad place to be. That's for sure. I know a lot of my friends went there. Pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I do think that this division sort of boils down to, can Dan Mullen beat the Bulldogs? And I think that this, for his job security and for everything we've talked about in the past about the Dan Mullen against the Bulldogs, I think he does get that win here, and I think that propels Florida ahead in the division.
I definitely like Florida ahead of Georgia. I think Tennessee is going to beat someone. I think South Carolina's going to be a little better than people suspect. And Vandy is one of those teams that's kind of like good year, bad year, good year, bad year. And their good years are 6-6, 7-5. And I think they could get to that sort of range. It just takes a while. Obviously, when James Franklin left, it was a big step back. And now, you got to rebuild. And it's like that's where they are. We go to the West Division. And the West, the last few years has been the division. LSU, national champion last year, plus 400. Alabama minus 200 here, and we saw on draft day that it was the Tide players getting drafted, a lot of them. So it's not just a reload, it's a rebuild. I don't know, we saw those depth problems the last 2 years at Alabama take their toll. Texas A&M at plus 400. Jimbo Fisher, say what you want about this guy, but he can recruit. You have some of the best recruiters in the country in this division right here. Of course, Alabama, and then Ed Orgeron, who's the king of the living. Probably after Butch Davis, probably the second best recruiter of all time. Jimbo Fisher, who I don't know how he gets it done, but here's a coach that makes he himself makes $10 million a year. For we saw what that gets you. Auburn plus 500. Gus Malzahn, the best record against Nick Saban. Mississippi State, whose quarterback was drafted as kind of like an athlete after I bashed him all season. Ole Miss, the Rebels, plus 2,500 here. I thought they were better than that last year. And Pig Suey, Arkansas, plus 10,000. Has there ever been a program in the history of the world that has such great financial endorsement that is this bad? Same odds as Vandy. What are you thinking? They put a lot of money to that Arkansas program. This is a team that 10 years ago was in the Sugar Bowl against Wisconsin. Less than 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, Alabama, it's like you said, they do have the depth issues. They've lost a ton of talent from last year. I mean, they always have this ability, it seems, to sort of bring in guys and always be near the top of the rankings, no matter what. They still have guys in the receiving core like Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Najee Harris at running back. I still feel like I need to see a little bit more from Mac Jones. He performed well against the lesser teams, and he did well in the bowl game, but it was against a Michigan team that really didn't have much I want to say spirit, but that's the only word I can think of. They didn't have much spirit in that game, and we're not a team I was high on going into that game anyways. But a team I am looking at in this division, I think Auburn at plus 500 is getting some great value here. They still have Bo Nix at quarterback. He's only going to get better in his second year. Jatarvius Whitlow, Seth Williams. But Gus Malzahn's now handing over the offense to Chad Morris. And Chad Morris, fired from Arkansas, yeah, but he's led some pretty good offenses wherever he's gone. I think he's had 3 top 10 scoring offenses. He had it at Clemson. He had it at SMU. His teams were scoring 40 points per game. And Gus Malzahn, after they beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl last year, said the only difference between the win and the losses were we were scoring more points. And I think that if you're going to get into those boxing matches, in those high-profile games, you've got to be the team that scores more points. And that's, the last time I checked, that's how you win games. You score more points than the other side. So I think Auburn's a good shot here at plus 500.
I think Auburn or Texas A&M are pretty good bets for me. But anyways, Chris, we'll see you in a couple minutes. So who do you like to win overall to come out of that game? Auburn. You have Auburn against Florida. Who do you like?
I'm going to take Auburn at plus 1,400. Plus 600 for Florida is good, but I like the value better with Auburn here.
I'm with you. I took Auburn last year. They kind of let me down. They had that brutal schedule. I mean, that's the thing about Auburn and LSU. They don't get that Alabama schedule. They played the brutal schedule. It was like Alabama was playing Mississippi State and Ole Miss, Tennessee, while Auburn seemed to be playing LSU, Florida, every single week. It was Georgia, they had all those teams in the regular season. But anyways, we'll see in just a minute for our sim picks. We're going to bring Rod Zawacki in. Rod, we had some horse racing yesterday. Just do a quick recap here. It was chalk in the Arkansas Derby. Baffert horse is generally super chalky, and that's how this one went. No different. And I think both those horses, we'll have to see how it plays out. And we were just talking about this before the show. The horse that we see in April and May might not be the same horse that we see in October. We don't see a lot of Derby winners that win the Breeders' Cup, which is normally in that fall range as well. And, while it's 3-year-olds against older horses in that case too, we're just not seeing that, horses, they from track to track, from day to day. I mean, this is one temperamental
and they work up to these. They work up to these races. It's going to be interesting all of a sudden to run the Derby in November. What are these horses going to do what are they going to do to warm them up? Are they going to do some pre-races of some sort? You can't just expect to huck your horse in and let them go in November. Usually there's a growth period. They go through stakes races and work their way up to the Derby, not, here, get in there. I don't know what they're going to do there.
We also saw the virtual Triple Crown race. I really enjoyed this. I was surprised by how much I really, really liked this. I thought, of all those, I don't watch any of the sim games. I don't watch any of this stuff. But I watched that virtual Triple Crown, and I thought it was awesome. The cool thing was all those old horses, Citation and those guys like that, Whirl Away, right? I didn't recognize any of their colors and stuff, but it had mixed in with Affirmed in the pink and black, and Seattle Slew in the black and gold, and American Pharoah in the turquoise. It was like Secretariat and the blue checkered. And when they did the autopsy on Secretariat when he died, they found that his heart was twice the size of a normal horse. That's what the autopsy showed, and his effort in the virtual turnaround showed it once again that he, people said this about him. People said this about him, when he raced, and it was the same thing in this virtual Triple Crown race, where it's like he kind of hung in there, and then at the end, when he needed it, bang, he just had more heart. So I really, really enjoyed that. I think the 3 horses that I picked, Slew, Pharoah, and Secretariat were, I think it was 1st, 3rd, 5th or something, but Slew led most of the way. Pharoah got a horrible trip, but he was coming, at the end. But I thought that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I think we should do a little bit more horse racing, maybe like on our segments, that we go throughout the week. We'll add some horse racing picks to our show here, and then we'll see how that goes. Because like we've been talking about doing horse racing for a while, it's just neither of us want to sit here all day and do a 5-hour show.
I know.
So, I'm not doing it. It's not what we do. It's not my game, and I know once football starts, I'm certainly not going to do it. In baseball or anything else, I'm certainly not going to do it. So it's like I don't want to start something that I can't finish. But I think giving out a few horse racing picks a day, it takes a lot of homework too. Horse racing for sure. But
it's more. Yeah, there's definitely more stuff to look at when you're capping a horse race than.
Got a lot of Rod Zawacki fans, and of course, I'm one as well. But anyways, what are your takes here in the SEC? We heard what Chris had to say. Chris was shooting for the value. I'm kind of in that same camp where the Georgia Bulldogs minus 110 in the SEC East. Kirby Smart does a lot of posturing on the sideline. I don't go for that stuff, because he hasn't won. It's like it's one thing when Lou Holtz grabs a guy by the face, and it's like I don't like that either. But it's like at least you've won. Kirby's never won as a head coach at all. He hasn't been a head coach for all that long, so I'm not saying he never will. But I'm going to say that he's never going to have a better chance. It's kind of like Kyle Shanahan in last year's Super Bowl, up by 10 with 10 minutes to go or whatever. You're never going to have a better chance. You might, I don't know, but it's like you're given that type of chance, you have to close the deal. And Kirby Smart had that same chance in the national championship game, ends up getting caught by Alabama, and then the Tua Tagovailoa touchdown pass to beat him in overtime, which was a miraculous play, in hindsight. But Kirby Smart is the defensive genius, right? He's the genius at the college level. At least he thought he was when he had Alabama's players. Anyone here come up and bite the Bulldogs? Because they're loaded with talent, but a little rawer than we're used to seeing them.
I like the Gators to win the East Division here. I think they can beat the Bulldogs here. I really like Amari Jones there. And he's the backup quarterback. I think he's way better than Kyle Trasker. And Jones is just too much talent to leave on the bench. I don't think he's going to be sitting on the bench very long.
Dan Mullen's a coach that kept Cam Newton on the bench, so we'll see what he does here with him. But of course, he had Tim Tebow as a starter back then. I'm not saying that Trask's Tebow, that's for sure.
No.
So I think I kind of go back and forth here. It's weird because I really don't like any of these teams personally, but I would love to see.
No,
I don't think they win this conference. I think it's a little too raw. But I think college football is better when Tennessee is good. I love the whole Rocky Top thing. I've been to a game in Knoxville, and I have to say some of the nicest people you'll ever meet in the world at a football game. It's like we walked with probably 300 Miami Hurricane fans from our little tailgate party to the stadium in Knoxville, and these people couldn't have been any nicer to us. We beat them by about 600 points, and they still couldn't have been any nicer to us. It was really a pleasant experience. Just a far cry from a place like Morgantown or something like that, or even Gainesville, which is or the Horseshoe in Ohio State. And I've even been to Ohio State games where they played on a neutral site, and it was no better there either. But
I think that it comes down to the October 31st game between Florida and Georgia.
Yep,
who wins this.
The cocktail party in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So we go to the SEC West, and this conference has been spitting out Heisman winners, national champions, and certainly a playoff team every single year. Has had at least one team in the playoff. It has several of the national champions and at least national championship game participants. Even when Florida State won the national championship, pre-playoff, the Jameis Winston year, they beat Auburn. And it goes on and on. Auburn, won it with Cam Newton against Oregon, Chip Kelly. It wasn't that long ago. But, LSU coming off the national championship season, obviously Joe Burrow's gone, and quarterback's been an issue there at LSU for a very long time. It really was the missing piece of the puzzle. Wasn't just us spewing that at them for all these years. It actually was the case because they get a quarterback, all of a sudden they win the national championship. Anyone contend here with Alabama or LSU? Because Texas A&M, they're talking a lot of smack. Kellen Mond is back for his third year. He was, of that quarterback class, he's the last of the this was like seen as one of the best quarterback classes out of high school. Kellen Mond is the last of those gems that are still at the college level. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, he's had a ton of. Look at the NFL draft and look at the Texas A&M guys and look around the NFL. Even Tom Brady's gushing over his Texas A&M wide receiver that he's got. Right? It's like, is this the year, or is Jimbo not the guy? Jimbo does have a ring, too.
It's just this. When you look at the schedule, as Alabama got this soft schedule again, well, it's not even fair. LSU has to go in and they have to play. Look at the teams they got to play. They got to go play. They got to play Florida. Then they got to play Auburn. Then they got to play Texas A&M.
Florida.
They have to run a gauntlet to win the division, and Alabama just coasts right along. They have to play one game.
Certain teams have certain teams that they play every single year. So for Alabama, that's in the other division. It's kind of like when all the conferences split to divisions. There's been on opposite sides of the divisions natural rivalries that have to play every year. So like in the ACC, Miami has to play Florida State every single year. In the SEC, LSU and Florida have to play every year. They hate each other's guts. It's like it's the rivalry. They circle it. It's like, we hate your guts and we're going to play it. We don't even care where it is. We're going to play it. And then for Alabama, it's Tennessee, who also hate each other's guts.
But I think this division comes down to the November 7th game, LSU, Alabama, for this.
It has many times.
Who's gonna do all the play calling for LSU now with Joe Brady going out?
Well, they
just follow his same schemes.
They always find a way, man. All these
they always do. Yeah.
Well, those are two programs, especially at LSU, who have never had a problem paying up for coordinators. These guys get it, LSU and Alabama, why are they always so good? Is that they always pay up for coordinators. They always pay. You look at all these old head coaches and how Nick Saban has them back in there. Those guys aren't working for free. It's like he always has Steve Sarkisian. It's got, every Mario Cristobal was on his staff. It's like these guys are not cheap, and it's like he has tons of them. So I'm not worried about that, but anyways, UFC is, I think the fights are on May 9th. So we'll talk about that on May 9th. Got to save something. we have picks on those. we have picks on those at both Sports Chat and at Pick Dogs. But Rod, who do you like to win the SEC? It's pretty much an automatic berth in the playoff, in the college football playoff. Who do you like?
I'm gonna stick with Florida. I think Florida's got a shot to come out of here.
I think LSU and Alabama. I think what we're seeing at Alabama, and none of us took Alabama, and I think what we're seeing at Alabama, and it's the same thing that I've been saying for the last few years, and we saw it beginning with the Deshaun Watson game against them. We saw it there. They did come back and win a national championship after that, so I was wrong again that it was over. But it's like, what happens, and we've seen this at the great programs, and 10 years ago, it was 10 years ago, USC was never going to lose a game again. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Miami was never going to lose a game again. Like all these things, it's cyclical. But what generally will happen here is that the depth leaves the team. So it's like you don't have the depth, so those starters have to play more and more and more, and you don't have that defensive line rotation and offensive line rotations, and it's like, these guys have to play more and more and more plays, and then by the fourth quarter, if you get a quarterback like Deshaun Watson, who is picking you apart, and it's first down after first down after first down. It's not home run after home run after home run. It's just first down, first down, first down, first down, first down. It's like it's a lot of plays for your defense. And by the fourth quarter, Hunter Renfrow can push your defensive back to the side and just catch a touchdown pass for the national championship. And that's pretty much what happens. But anyways, Rod, we're going to bring the guys back in, do the sim picks. We're running about not too far over what we hope to run over today, but just a little bit. Welcome back, guys. Steve, 23,500 a play. I think you could probably round it up to 25.
Yeah. And still 23-5 without him making a play. So.
I mean, this is like this to me.
On the sideline,
that contract to me, looking at it from these, could be, one of the worst contracts in the history of contracts. I think looking at it that way, I think the Bryce Harper contract, but they're going to make that back at the gate. They made that back at the gate with Bryce Harper, at least for 1 year. But they're not making Amari Cooper money. I'll tell you that much. Amari Cooper's coming.
Like Amari Cooper is the biggest bum ever to grace an NFL football field. I don't buy it. Has he missed a lot of time? Yeah, I get it. But he is productive when he's in there. Let's be real here.
Yeah, but he's being paid to be productive all the time.
I understand that.
Amari Cooper, I would say, is a middle-of-the-road wide receiver on his best day.
You're acting like he's the late Charles Rogers, for Christ's sake.
No, I'm not saying that he's Charles Rogers. I'm saying that he's not as good as like a T.J. Hushmanzada, and that he's being paid like frickin' Jerry Rice. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's fair.
That's
fair.
It's like, who would you rather have? T.J. Hushmanzada in his better years, or Amari Cooper? I mean, really?
I'll take Hushman.
One for Hushmanzada right here. 2.
I think Hushmanzada just because his name is more fun to say.
Yeah. Nobody can spell it either, so.
So Amari Cooper in total receptions last year. Putting this in perspective, Amari Cooper was, where is he even on this board? So he's 22nd in the NFL in receptions last year, okay, with 79. He played in all 16 games, so $20 million for 79 catches. Chris, what's that equal per catch that this guy's making? Okay, because if we go by touchdowns, right? That right. It only this story only gets uglier, right? So he had 8 touchdowns. So that's $2,250,000 a touchdown for Amari Cooper, but they only won 8 and 8, so it's like these were not worth that kind of money. We'll leave this for plenty of time to and the thing is that I was like one of the big Cooper backers for a long time, and it's like he has let me down. He has written us a check we cannot cash, as Martin Luther King said. He has written us a check. I had a dream, and that dream was that Amari Cooper was out of the NFL.
All right. Well, as a Cowboy fan, I have to back him and a little bit longer. But to your point, the contract, I think he's definitely making way more money than the production has shown.
I mean, the production shows that Allen Robinson II is a way better wide receiver than this guy. That's what I mean. I'm not making this up. This is what the numbers say. What the numbers say is that DJ Moore runs this guy out of the gym. That's what the numbers say. The numbers say that Jarvis Landry with frickin' Baker Mayfield as his quarterback is better than this guy. Okay? The numbers say that Chris Godwin with Jameis frickin' Winston as his quarterback is better than this guy. I don't see it. Tyler Boyd, okay, had more catches than this guy. Tyler Boyd had 50% more catches than Amari Cooper. 50%.
Because Amari Cooper's not out on the field for 16 games. He may play in 16 games, but he's missing
Chris,
a ton of
all right,
play
here,
every.
Chris, Cooper Kupp or Amari Cooper? Who would you rather have?
Cooper Cup.
I mean, these are not Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper.
Adams.
Adams.
Here we go. Jamison Crowder or Amari Cooper?
Cooper.
No. These guys are in the same discussion statistically.
I get you.
I mean, that's where we are, you know? Austin
I'm not
Eckler,
gonna-
when it comes to receiving, Austin Eckler runs this guy, I mean, into the next county, you know? It's like...
All right.
Let's just say. So here's who the real best receivers in the NFL are statistically. Okay, and you tell me if Amari Cooper even belongs in this group. Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, who was also better than Amari Cooper. 104 catches last year for Keenan Allen.
I agree.
Julian Edelman, who, I mean, they probably went to the well 10 times too often. Julio Jones, Allen Robinson, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, and Eckler were the leaders in receivers. Robert Woods in 15 games, okay? Robert Woods in 15 games did way more than Amari Cooper. It's like, I don't see it. And it's like, but anyways, Chris, let's get
the other point is we have Ezekiel Elliott, too, that gets the freaking ball 20-plus times a game, okay? So you need to factor that in, that, you know, Dak's not throwing it 55 times a game or 46 times a game. And I'm not knocking that these guys are obviously elite, the Julio Jones, Adams.
Well, Jarvis Landry had Nick Chubb, who got the ball only 3 times less than Elliott.
That is a factor.
Well, Nick Chubb got the ball 3 carries less than Ezekiel Elliott, and Jarvis Landry still ran Cooper out of the building.
You know what I'm saying.
Christian McCaffrey, I mean, Joe Mixon, for, every one of those teams, that the guys that we mentioned, all have running backs in the same number of carries, area code, as Ezekiel Elliott.
Okay, I'm just making that point.
I mean, Zeke at 4.5 yards a carry, at least he's respectable. I mean, he's got 3 fumbles. He lost 2, and I think they both were gruesome. Crushers. I mean, Derrick Henry had 3 fumbles. I couldn't even tell you what they were, but I know that both of Elliott's were game losers.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, man, we're running way long. Chris, sim us up.
Let's see here. Tampa Bay at Miami at 1 Eastern. Tampa Bay -7, over under 51.5.
Miami,
money line.
Dolphins.
Yeah, I'll take the over. I don't like either of them.
I don't know. Card. All right, next.
Vikings at Jets. Vikings -4.5, over under 55.
Vikings.
-4.5.
Vikings.
It's a crappy game. Cousins will come out firing. He'll be just beast. He doesn't lose these games. He doesn't lose the crap games.
No. 7 Eastern, 49ers at Patriots. Patriots -1.5, over under 55.
49ers.
Patriots. I think the Patriots money line.
I'll take the Patriots and all.
I like the over.
I like 49ers.
10 last game, 10 Eastern. Rams at Raiders. Rams -7, over under 55.5. I like the Rams.
I'm gonna take the Raiders. The Raiders haven't looked not too shabby in some of these Simpic games.
I'll take the former Raiders.
Take the Raiders. Yeah, once again, so Robert Henning is saying the same thing where it's like, one option versus, the other stuff in this Amari Cooper thing. Everyone else has options too. Everyone else has options. Le'Veon Bell on the Jets, right? I mean, we're talking Jet wide receivers better known than this guy. Scott Sam Darnold, I mean, Le'Veon Bell. We're not making excuses for $20 million a year, guys. That's one thing we're not going to do here.
He just got the $20 million. He hasn't played yet.
Because he earned it, right? He's earned that number. You know?
That. But he hasn't played yet at the $20 million rate. So
I need $20 million or else I can't play, man.
What is Amari Cooper going to say? No, Jerry, I don't want $20 million? Okay.
It's like the Simpsons episode. It's like, we'd like to buy your company, the Germans. It's like, we'd like to buy your company. Here's the number that we're thinking. I graciously accept your offer. It's like,
well, Amari better have 110 catches for 17,000 yards and 48 touchdowns.
It's like the John Henry. It's the John Henry scene in Moneyball with Brad Pitt. It's like, they don't even show you. You know, it's like. Anyways, that wraps up today's show. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Monday with Mitch. We're going to do a studio tour and some other stuff like that. We'll be back with the guys on Tuesday. Maybe someone else will sign a ridiculous contract by then, and we can put Amari Cooper to the side for a moment. But in the meantime, sorry, Amari. We got nothing else to talk about. Have a great day, everyone. We will see. I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see the guys on Tuesday. Thanks, guys, again. Fun show.
Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.